Right now, right now. 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 Oh, I got a real good feeling.
We try to bring you high-quality educational and informational content every single day. Why do you think the price is having such an anemic time? The news story of the hour. Jump onto the chart. Is this the beginning of a massive financial unraveling? We've got to add a little addendum to the show map today. So we start here on the daily. Now, we've been looking at the RSI on Bitcoin's daily show, where we bring you the latest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency technical, on-chain, and fundamental analysis. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about the recent drop on Bitcoin. If you're watching yesterday's stream, then you will know that Bitcoin was sitting above an uptrending level of support, sitting in a rising wedge, and over the last 24 hours, we've actually broken bearish out of that wedge, dropping a couple $100 down to a new uptrending level of support, almost exactly on the level that I showed you guys Bitcoin very well may drop down to. We're going to be talking about that and quite a few other news stories today. Carolyn Ellison and SBF are looking at getting new defense attorneys, and it's very interesting who they are choosing. We got some interesting tweets from Elon, and we're going to be looking at a couple of your favorite altcoins in today's episode as well. You might notice something is different, and that is that this is back. You guys have been wanting this back for a very, very long time. I'm sure, I haven't even looked at the chat yet, but I'm sure you guys are going nuts. If you guys don't remember, about 2.5 years ago, we had that wood up, and it is the exact same wood. We saved it, and it got put up yesterday, and it's not a green screen. That's actual wood. I don't do green screens. You guys know that. Really appreciate all of the support over the last little while as I've been getting this set built. Not even close to done. There's a ton of stuff I want to do to this set. That's just the beginning. Had to get that up before we could start decorating on top of it. But we're going to end up setting up something really awesome in here, getting ready for that bull market. Because, guys, look, here in a year or two, we're going to have a massive influx of millions and millions and millions of new users and new Bitcoin fanboys and fangirls and just fans in general pouring into the cryptocurrency space when they realize how much opportunity there is here, and we want to be ready to welcome them. So that's what we're trying to prepare for, is for that massive flood of new interest into the cryptocurrency space and into cryptocurrency media. So if you want to be a part of that, make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Make sure to hit that post notification bell. Like the stream also really helps. It's my second stream with no coffee. I broke yesterday. Guys, I had to get some. I had this pounding headache. Any of you guys have ever just cold turkey stopped drinking caffeine? Normally, whenever I do that, it's the next day that it's really bad. But for some reason, I was fine on Saturday and Sunday. Go figure. But then on Monday, yesterday, I had this massive pounding headache. I thought I was sick. I thought I had a fever. So I had something with a shot of espresso in it. I know. But I'm probably not going to have any more now. I'm going off of coffee. I'm really excited to see what happens, and I really do enjoy relying on, more natural energy like food sources, for example. Gonna go ahead and read chat, see what you guys think. Everybody seems to be very excited about the background. Grand Roofing Incorporated, as somebody said, had some lightning fingers. He was first in chat and said, "Good morning, Jebb. Hope you and Sarah and Malachi are doing well through the pregnancy and holiday season." Shout out to you, Grand Roofing. Really appreciate all of that support. Yeah, we're doing pretty well. You know, it's been a hectic couple of months, but we're getting things nailed in. Zone connection. I'm not sure what's going on with our internet. I'm plugged into a hard line. I don't know why the internet is giving me trouble. I hope that didn't mess up at the very beginning of the stream. If it looked like I was caught a little bit off guard, that's because it looked like the internet was messing with me. Anyway, Thomas Post in chat. Grand Roofing again said there's definitely some fast shooters out here. Corey said, "Good morning. Good morning, beautiful crypto family. Hashtag FinSov." We got Justin Eubanks in chat, said, "Good morning, Crypto Jebb. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, everybody." Christopher McFarlane in chat. Mike Lowry in chat. Crypto Mini Bike. Justin Eubanks again. Let's see. Been a hot minute since I've been here. What's up, Paper Hands Moon Boy? How you doing, my friend? Good morning, chat. Good morning, Jebb. Good morning, spying government? Question mark, CBD study? Probably, to be honest with you. That's the way that works nowadays. Retro, we need to take it all the way back to the bedroom look for the next bull run. Yeah, I mean, I probably will have some kind of home set at some point in the future for when the baby gets here, because like I told you guys, I want to make sure you guys are aware of this well in advance. I'm going to be taking 2 full weeks off after our daughter gets here, and then I'm going to be working like part-time for the next 4 weeks. So there's going to be about 6 weeks I'm not going to be fully here because I'm, taking care of our new child. That, by the way, we got an ultrasound for yesterday, and she's doing very well. Everything is normal, and that was a big relief and a blessing. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into some crypto. We're going to start over here on CoinMarketCap. Bitcoin right now is sitting down almost 1%. You can see over the last 24 hours, it is down nearly exactly 1%. Last 7 days is traded almost perfectly sideways. And that should give us something to pause and think about. The fact that Bitcoin is traded pretty much sideways over the last 7 days gives us quite a lot of pause, because it basically means that Bitcoin has done a whole lot of nothing. And if you've noticed, the space has been pretty boring lately. Pretty much the only thing going on in crypto are people dumpstering on Sam Bankman-Fried and Carolyn Ellison. That's pretty much all that's going on, other than Bitcoin sitting here trading sideways. And if you'll remember to yesterday's stream, I drew both of these uptrends. Well, all 3 of these uptrends and then this downtrend constituting this rising wedge that we were in yesterday. But I also drew, and I have not touched this trend line since 24 hours ago on stream. You can go back to yesterday's stream. This is where I placed this yesterday based off of these 2 local lows. And Bitcoin fell down exactly to it. If you'll remember to yesterday's stream, I outlined that I think Bitcoin very well will first break down to that level right there, which is the exact level that it fell to. Then I think that we would probably see Bitcoin drop down to the Lux Algo trend catcher down here on the 4-hourly chart, so I can show you what that looks like right here, which would more than likely align with this uptrend. I talked about yesterday how we could drop down here, hit the trend catcher, hit the uptrending level of support, and then you could potentially enter a very small short trade here and make some profit. Well, that's exactly what happened over the course of 4 hours. Bitcoin, over the course of really an hour or 2, Bitcoin dropped quite substantially there. But then the next thing that we talked about here was the fact that from there, we could see Bitcoin drop down to the point of control here on the VRVP, which is currently sitting at $16,550 or so. If we do see that occur, that means that we would be below the trend catcher and below this uptrending level of support, which means we will have confirmed a break to the downside out of that rising wedge. The thing that's important to keep in mind here, though, is that Bitcoin did kind of break bearish out of the rising wedge, but just keep in mind, if we remove yesterday's trend line, it's still a rising wedge, and in fact, this trend line is actually even more, this trend line is actually even more distinct than it had been. So we can't really say that we're out of the trend line yet. We can't really say that we've broken bearish out of the falling wedge just yet. The fact of the matter is, we have not necessarily done that. We have, in fact, broken bearish out of a preliminary trend line and then reestablished what uptrend we're using to classify this as a rising wedge. But if we do see Bitcoin break to the downside here, out of that rising wedge, breaking below the trend catcher, which is currently moving sideways around 16.7, and then break down to that VRVP, that would be the next level that I would want you guys to be paying very close attention to. And you can see that level sitting right here. So I'll just go ahead and draw a line. Let me, it's adjusting a little bit. Let me just go ahead and draw a line right there. That's the next level that I'm looking at for Bitcoin. Again, like I said, Bitcoin could potentially drop all the way down to 15.5, but it's going to be a series of steps. It's not going to necessarily just be one cascading movement because there's a lot of support. The next movement could be a drop down here to this next step right here. And then the next levels that we'll be looking at are something like $16,000. And then you would be looking at something like 15.5. From there, if you drop below 15.5, that's where you really start getting into free fall territory where there's not a lot of support. And then you would probably cascade very quickly down to $12,500 or so. The thing is that we've already seen Bitcoin come down to these levels multiple times and get bought up quite sharply, as you can see right here. So even if we did drop down here to 15.5, there is also the potential that there's a lot of buying pressure down here. You still have a lot of big bulls in the space, like Michael Saylor, for example. One of the things I was watching just now was Michael Saylor went on PBD's podcast. If you guys don't know who PBD is, Patrick Bet-David from Valuetainment. He interviewed Michael Saylor about 9 months ago. I actually watched their interview to prepare for my interview with Michael Saylor. But then he just did another interview today. I haven't had a chance to watch the full interview, but I'm sure it is wonderful. Very strong, very intelligent, powerful businessmen there in the same room together. Was definitely an interesting interview. But what I'm saying is that there are a lot of bulls still sitting on the sidelines. Michael Saylor is one of them. I would be very surprised if Patrick Bet-David was not one of them. You've got, all kinds of bulls, whether you agree with them or disagree with them on crypto political topics or not. You got Kevin O'Leary out there that's probably laddering in. You've got all kinds of funds that are looking to get into Bitcoin, but they just don't know when exactly is the best time because either one, they're inexperienced in crypto, or two, they just don't have enough information to guarantee to themselves, or at least say with enough confidence that the bottom is in. And so that's where we come in as the crypto community. We can set the narrative as to whether or not the bottom is in, but we also need to be very careful with that power that we wield in the public eye. Myself, a lot of the other content creators here on the platform, and the folks over at CoinDesk, Cointelegraph, CryptoNews.com, all of these different websites, all these different influencers, we're the people that the whole world looks to decide whether or not we're in a bull market. So let's be very careful with that. We're not in a bull market yet, not even close. We have not even come close to confirming a bull market. In fact, if anything, we actually have even more reason to believe that we may be ready for another leg to the downside. And that's one of the big things that we're going to talk about today. But let's go ahead and keep moving here. Bootsy said, "Hey Jebb, love the real wood. Way to go." Like I said, I don't knock anybody that uses green screens. I get it. Look, a green screen is a very helpful tool, but I much prefer to have an actual real set because I can walk into it and I can see it. I can visualize it. That's what I really like. I got a lot of ideas for what I want to do here. So that's what we're going to do. Tom M said, "Take a small amount of caffeine." That's what I did. I had a little bit of caffeine to help me, just kind of get through the withdrawal symptoms. And then we kept going. Ken Saunders, haven't seen you in a while, said, "What up, Jebb? Smash up the likes for the king of crypto." I don't know about that, but definitely hit the like button. Really appreciate to that. Josh Denham said, "Catching up at 2x speed. Dang, Jebb speaks fast. You need a Christmas wreath behind you at Jebb." I've got an idea for what I want to put here, so hang tight. Really excited for it. Wits Comics said, "Sup, Jebb? First time leaving a message. Need to be convinced to get back into the game. Selling a comic set and hopefully getting around 15K. Wow. I'm looking to get back in while we are so low." I think now is a wonderful time to be laddering in. I don't know, and in fact, I don't think the bottom is, well, to be honest with you, I'm a little bit torn. I'm not convinced, maybe I should say, that the bottom is in, but I think it is very close. And there is always that possibility that the bottom has actually come in. So let's go ahead and jump back onto it. But before we get back into crypto, we first must jump into your favorite segment, the Musk Watch. I like saying that because it's a tongue twister. Elon Musk passed 120 million followers yesterday, already at 120.2 million, gaining 250,000 followers a day. Absolutely wild. But he posted a couple of things here. Not too much. Nothing really all that interesting going on, to be honest. This is not the story that it was a month ago. It's getting a little bit more dull because they laid off almost 90% of the people that were working at Twitter, and all of a sudden the site still works just fine. Like, what were all those people doing? I would really like to know what the $2 billion a year worth of payroll, which, by the way, it's a publicly traded company, so the people that were holding Twitter stock really ought to be curious about this. It doesn't matter now because you got bought out, but I'm sure they'd be very curious of what that $2 billion a year worth of payroll was doing. Not quite $2 billion. It's over $1 billion worth of payroll going to, 6,000 employees and 3,000 or 4,000 contractors. What was it doing? The site works perfectly fine. It works better than ever, actually. Anyway, Elon said, "Oh, what a tangled web they weave when first they practice to." I don't really know what he's talking about here. I don't know if anybody does, but I have a feeling he's talking about, he's probably talking about this right here. And yeah, probably has to do with the Twitter files release, and also with the censorship that was going on behind the scenes, and potentially some sabotage that was done at Twitter before he got there. But of course, we don't have any information on that. And he said, "Oh, just keeping busy. Fear is not the mind killer." He said, "Context switching is the mind killer." That's pretty funny. So this is a scene, if you don't know, from the original Dune movie. I believe it's from the original Dune movie. I think that's Atreides right there. I never watched the original, but I've seen a lot of clips of it. The new Dune movie is absolutely incredible, so check it out if you haven't already. But anyway, make sure to follow Elon Musk, I guess, on his own platform, and follow us over on our Twitter. You can find the link down below. But let's keep moving here. What is Bitcoin going to do next? What are the altcoins and cryptocurrencies going to do next? That's one of the things I really want to talk about But first, let's zoom out and get perspective. I really think it's very important that we keep on top of this longer-term perspective game because it is so easy to get caught up in, oh no, Bitcoin's going to go down $300. Bitcoin's going to go up $200. But one of the things that Saylor talked about in this interview over here is that if you're in Bitcoin for 6, 12, 18 months and you're trying to trade every day, then you dang well better know what you're doing because that's a difficult game. The really important game to play, the frankly much easier and more profitable and rewarding game to play, is buying and holding. In this video, he went over what Bitcoin has done and what a lot of other assets have done. I think he was talking about since the beginning of 2020. I think that's what he was talking about. And he was saying that, you know, the DJI is up 3%. The SPY is up 19%. Meta, Netflix are down. Microsoft is, I think he said was down. They might have been up. I don't remember. You know, we've got Apple is up a little bit. Gold's kind of moving sideways. But the one thing is that amongst all of those asset classes, despite the ridiculous volatility that Bitcoin has witnessed, it's up 43% compared to all of those other assets. And the fact is, and the thing to keep in mind here, is that Bitcoin, despite being down 70% from all-time high, has outperformed pretty much every single other asset on the book. In the book, Bitcoin is down a little bit, but look at this. The S&P 500 is down 17%. Yeah, sure. But let's just go back to the beginning of 2020. Let's just go back to January 1st or December 31st, whatever, close enough, of 2019. The SPY is up 22%. That's pretty much the index that you're going to follow for most of the traditional markets is the SPY. Going down to the DJI, if we look at where the DJI is since that time, and I mean, if you're an investor, this should be very important to you. We're up 16%. You know, we've had a lot of volatility during this time, but if we look at Bitcoin and we go to BLX, let's go back to the beginning of 2020, and let's just forget about all the volatility for a second because it doesn't actually matter. Let's say you bought in at the very beginning of 2020, December 30th, 2019, close enough. You're still up 129%. We're so focused on this that we're not focused on this. And that's the thing that I really want you guys to understand. And I started to talk about this a few days ago when I drew this chart. I think it was on Friday. But I didn't. I left it for another stream, and this is that stream. Let's come in here to a curve, and let's just draw the curve that matches closest what Bitcoin has been doing over the last several years. And we're not going to get perfect because, first of all, we're limited a little bit by the way that these TradingView tools work, but also it's just not a perfect science. But let's just take a look at, as close as we can anyway, what Bitcoin has done over the last several years as far as its actual general trend. I feel that you could probably put a trend line right about here, and that's going to maybe not even there. Maybe we can move it a little bit, maybe to something like this. I mean, it doesn't really matter exactly because we're not using this to try and find support and resistance, but maybe you could draw the trend line something like that. And you'll see that Bitcoin is generally moving to the upside. Generally, and it's, you know, there's a decreasing rate of return as you get into the hundreds of billions of dollars in market capitalization. Naturally, there's only so much money on the planet. But there is a general uptrend over the course of the last 13 years on Bitcoin that has always been respected. We tend to spend more time down here in this bottom segment, and then we spend some time up here in this top segment. We spend about 2/3 of our time down here in the bottom part of the trend, as you can see right here, and about 1/3 of it up here in the blow off top category. So why are we so focused on this? If we were just to remove, let's just for a second, for the sake of argument, remove all of this price action right here. Let's remove all of this price action right here. Let's remove all of this price action right here that's clouding our judgment. And let's just look at this market and just pretend that the market traded sideways right along this line for a little while. That's really the trend that you're looking at. This is 2/3 of the price data right here. This market is what you really want to be looking at. And is Bitcoin not continuously moving to the upside throughout most of this? On the beginning of these bear markets, coming down below this basic line that I drew, we moved to the downside here, for example. This is 180 days, just so you know. We're looking at the whole history of Bitcoin. These are weekly candlesticks. We moved down for 189 days, and then we spend 750 days moving to the upside down here in this category.
Looking over here, we moved to the downside for 120 days. And then in this category, we moved to the upside for 1,000. It's almost a 10-to-1 ratio. Down here, we moved to the downside 259 days, much longer than we have in these previous drops right here and right here. Again, removing this price action data because it can, not that it's not relevant, it absolutely is, but it can be confusing when you're looking at the fact that, yeah, Bitcoin drops 85%. That's not the point that this chart is trying to show you. That's not the point that Bitcoin is trying to get at. The point that Bitcoin is trying to get at is that you have a small drop here as far as time, a short period of drop, I should say, and then you have this slow, gradual rally back up towards that median line, and then you blast off to the top, and then you hang out up there for a little while, and then you come back down to the baseline. Yeah, we could see a drop over in 2025 down to $60,000 or $100,000, and that would be our local low. That sounds ridiculous right now, but it's actually making a lot of sense. If you look at the previous all-time high at $20,000 on Bitcoin, well, what are we doing with that? We actually fell below it, and are coming slightly down below it, but not by much. We could see during the next bull market Bitcoin dropping as low as, I don't know, maybe this level right here. Maybe we drop as low as $48,000. Maybe we rally all the way up here to $200,000 like I've predicted before the end of 2025. Then we bounce down here to 60K. Then we bounce down briefly down to 48K, and then we bounce up and keep going to the upside. That trend right there, just what I drew in the white, would match almost perfectly with what we're seeing on this longer-term time frame. We're seeing a little bit of trading up here above that middle line. It'll be the fourth in history. And then the majority of the movement is taking place down here below the baseline, where we're seeing that gradual, slow, not as exciting, but all the more encouraging and important growth in the industry over that period of time. So we're going to talk about whether or not Bitcoin's going to drop on the shorter term time frames. But may we not, God forbid, we completely forget about the perspective and the context. Because, I mean, even as Elon Musk said over here, let's just bring it all back. You know, context isn't the mind killer. Fear is not the mind killer. Context switching is the mind killer, is what they said. I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about here in a way, to get really nerdy about it. We've forgotten our context. A lot of you guys, and this is something else to keep in mind, a lot of you guys got in during one of these phases. You either got in here or you got in here. Most of you got in here. I got in right here. So I got in when we were just about to blast into this big zone. A lot of you guys got in right here when we were just about to blast in that big zone. And boom, you got in, market rallies 500%. You got in, market rallies 400%. You got in, market rallies 5,000%. That doesn't happen every day. The blast off like that is about 150 days. We're talking less than 6 months of a 4-year cycle. You're talking about maybe about 12 to 15% of the time Bitcoin's in that parabolic breakout. The rest of the time, Bitcoin's either trading sideways, you know, in the grand scheme of things, basically trading sideways near all-time highs and near local highs, or it's moving down. Most of the gains are made in 10 days. In fact, Thomas Lee from Fundstrat is famous for saying, if you remove the 10 biggest winning days from almost any year in the history of Bitcoin, almost every single year in Bitcoin is a negative one, because Bitcoin makes all of its gains in like a day or two. So that's why we need to not get so caught up on, oh, we're bearish, oh, we're bearish, oh, we're bearish. If you're always feeling like, man, Bitcoin's always bearish. Yeah, that's how it works. We go down, 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 and then we, boom, blast off like a Roman candle. We shoot into the sky, and the market goes crazy. So I don't want you to get discouraged, because that right there is your fear trying to lead you, and you don't want to be led by your fear. You want to instead be led by the facts, and the fact is Bitcoin is in a long bull market that has never stopped in the history of its entire existence. If you take one step back out of the traditional bull market, bear market cycle and just look at the whole industry, it has always been growing if you give it enough time. If you hold Bitcoin for 4 years, as far as I can remember, there's not a single point in the history of Bitcoin, except for like right now, actually, that you're not in profit. Literally, except for right now, because about 4 years ago, we were sitting at 20K. Other than the last like 3 months, that's never been the case. And that's not a big trend change. Don't worry about it. That's part of the diminishing returns of a maturing market. Anyway, Let's keep moving right along here and take a look at the shorter term timeframes on Bitcoin, because it's very important, as I said, that we have that longer term perspective and context, but we also want to know what's going on the shorter term, right? So let's do an update on what we were looking at yesterday. Right now, we have a sell signal coming into play on Luxalgo. As I told you guys, we're currently sitting on the upper end, yesterday we were sitting on the upper end of the EQ cloud. I was concerned yesterday that we were going to break below this uptrending level of support right here and below the top of the EQ cloud and fall down to the bottom of the EQ cloud and this uptrending level of support. That's what happened. We bounced almost perfectly off of the trend catcher, but as you can see, we're not putting a very strong bounce into play. Just looking at the 4-hourly chart here, you can see on the candle wicks pretty well that we've tried to bounce, but we weren't able to. We even saw kind of a spinning top right here, and then we're seeing the exact opposite on this candlestick. I'm reading into it a little bit, but if you combine both of these candlesticks, then what you have is a spinning top. This is almost like a spinning top on 2 candlesticks. Just imagine moving the body of this candlestick over and then the wick of this candlestick over, and what you have is virtually a spinning top. If you call this the body right there, and then you call these the wicks, it looks like a spinning top just on 2 candlesticks. In fact, if we go out to the 8-hour chart, it probably does look like that, because that's how you would combine those 2 candlesticks. And boom, it's a spinning top. So there you go. That's why we need to pay attention to all of our time frames, because down on the 4-hourly chart, it would have been very easy to miss that. Like, oh, look, Bitcoin's going to the upside. Great. But if you look at the 8-hour chart, it combines those 2 candlesticks, just like I was saying, and then it's a spinning top. Also, keep in mind, we had 2 bearish engulfing candlestick formations right here and right here. And also keep in mind that we are under that sell signal down on the 4-hourly chart. And I believe down on the hourly chart, that sell signal has now been confirmed and has been for a time. On the hourly chart, we have been under a sell signal and we dropped right into the take profit. You can see the take profit zones were right here between $17,000 and $16,700. We dropped right into it. We do have a red X, which means that basically an exit confirmation is being dropped by Luxalgo. You see a blue X up here, for example. Red X right there. Those are small and they can be easy to miss, but a lot of what those are what we call exit confirmation signals. If you come over here to Luxalgo Premium signal mode, confirmation plus exits, those are the exit confirmations that you want to be looking at getting out of the buy or the short. So that's actually a little bit encouraging for the bulls, is that the sell right here has had an exit, but what we're going to see more than likely happen is Bitcoin come and back test this uptrending level of support. If it breaks below it and breaks into the reversal zone, well, that'll be the first time that we've been in the reversal zone for a while. Then we have to pay attention to what we're doing in the reversal zone. Do we fall into the reversal zone and bounce out of it and then come back and not fall into it a second time? That's what happened over here. We fell into the reversal zone, got out of it, we didn't touch it again, and then we blasted off. Or are we going to do what we did over here in around the November 20th territory, where we fell into the reversal zone, bounced, and then fell back into it, and then bounced, and then fell back into it, and then we bounced and got out of it, and then we rallied? That's what we're going to want to pay attention to on the reversal zones here on Luxalgo, is whether or not we're going to fall into the reversal zone, bounce out of it, and then not touch it again, or instead, are we going to fall into the reversal zone? Let me clean up the chart here a little bit. Are we going to fall into the reversal zone, bounce, and then come back into the reversal zone again, and then again and again and again, and ride the reversal zone down? Because you basically ride the reversal zone, which is this bottom one. You're probably getting tired of hearing the reversal zone. You basically ride that zone until you are able to bounce and then not touch it again. That's what you see happen at every point in Luxalgo's past, is that you push into it, reject, push into it, reject, push into it, reject. But then when you get another rejection and then it doesn't actually push into the zone, then that's where you get that's where you get your actual reversal. So we're going to pay close attention to that. The thing I would want to encourage you guys to pay attention to is whether or not Bitcoin drops below this uptrending level of support, below this level of support right here at $16,700. If it does break below 16,700, then that means 3 things. 1, we're breaking the uptrending level of support. Even if it's just minutely, it could be enough for the bears to latch onto and start running the market with. 2, we'd be breaking below the take profit zone on this sell signal, meaning that the take profit zone could update and drop lower. If it does update, the bottom, I'm speculating here because it's an algorithm, I can't predict it perfectly, but if it were to update, we would probably see the top of the reversal zone, the top of the take profit zone starting between 16.5 and 16.7, and the bottom could be as low as 16.2, somewhere in that territory. So if we do drop below that level of around 16,720, even if it's just for a few minutes, it could cause this box right here to drop lower, sending the level that Bitcoin should go to even lower. And it would mean that Bitcoin is coming in and touching the reversal zone again. It's almost like quicksand. We've touched it once. You can see right here yesterday at 3 p.m., we touched the reversal zone. If we come down and touch it a second time, we're probably going to get sucked into it a little bit, set a lower low. And if we set that lower low, that could be the setup for a drop to the downside. On the flip side, instead of doing that, we could just maintain this general uptrend out here on the longer term time frames, and with keeping in mind that we have not set a confirmed sell signal on the 2-hourly chart or on the 4-hourly chart, and we're not even under a sell signal on the 8-hourly chart, I don't think. I think we're still under just a buy signal on the 8-hourly chart. It is very possible that we could get caught up in this longer term movement of we have a buy signal here. EQ cloud is turning bullish. The reversal zones are constricting on themselves in the 8-hour, and we could just blast off to new highs because we're getting constricted on the longer term time frames. Remember, we got to keep that longer term context. Or Bitcoin could, and maybe we're tunnel visioning here, but Bitcoin could drop below this uptrending level of support. I think yesterday's movement, this one right here, was pretty easy to call. This next movement is going to be a lot more difficult because now we're starting to get contrary on a lot of things. On the 8-hour chart, as I said, we're actually under a buy signal. Reversal zones have constricted majorly, indicating that there's a very low volatility, but that high volatility should be coming. And we have a bullish EQ cloud reversal, EQ cloud cross, but the more responsive snappy indicator that gives us a lot more insight into what's going to happen with, like I said, more agility. The Lux oscillator is actually turning red right now, and we're dropping away from these local highs. We're getting very, very, very divergent on Lux oscillator, setting lower lows. So that doesn't give us a lot of confidence out on the 8-hourly chart either. And remember, guys, on the daily chart, we're still under a strong sell signal, and we've been under a strong sell signal. And we pulled back down into the reversal zone. This is what I'm talking about, by the way. We pulled into the reversal zone, got stuck in it like quicksand, and then we got out of it, set a new bottom, and then that's when we went into a rally. But if this is where the rally started right here, we're on the daily chart, go down to the 4-hourly. If that's where the rally started right here, and what we tried to do was set a bull flag in motion right here so that Bitcoin could push to the upside, well, that failed categorically because that should have sent us to $18,000 up into the reversal zone, the bullish reversal zone. That's not what happened. Bitcoin fell out of it as of yesterday, and so broke the opportunity that it had to turn this into a bull flag that would push us to the upside. So I'm not too encouraged by the bullish argument right now. I don't think there's a lot of credence to it. There's credence on the 8-hourly chart to the idea that we should see a major break very soon. But to be honest with you, Bitcoin is sitting right above the EQ cloud. So if we drop down to 16.5, as I'm saying, we would be hitting the bottom of the EQ cloud. If we drop below 16.5, you probably plummet straight to 16K. There's not a lot holding you, and you probably drop down to 15.5. So if we don't hold $16,500 over the next 3 days, I am betting with maybe about a 70% likelihood that we drop all the way down to $16,000, and probably at least a 50% likelihood we drop as low as 15.5. And remember, that rising wedge, let's not forget that because that's where all this TA started. That rising wedge has a price target, as we've drawn before, and the price target's not changed by this update over the last 24 hours because of the way the trend lines work. This price target is still sitting at $12,500. It still is, and there's still a 70% likelihood that Bitcoin breaks bearish out of this rising wedge just based on statistical and probabilistic analysis of chart formations such as this one throughout the history of markets. I don't mean to be a naysayer of crypto. That's why I wanted to start off by telling you that Bitcoin is in a remarkably good place on the long-term time frames. It is in a ridiculously strong place on the long-term time frames. And if you're looking to buy Bitcoin and crypto and you're going to hold it for over 2, 3, 4 years, you're not going to more than likely get much better than this. We could drop down to 12.5. I don't think we'd stay down there for more than a month or two. Frankly, we could probably go down there and V-bottom and just go boom, and then boom, and just rally right back up. I don't give a lot of credence to the idea that we're just going to sit down at $10,000 and stew down there for a year. I don't think that's what's in the cards. But we could drop down there. Nevertheless, the point is, whether you buy in at $12,000 or $16,000, you're not going to care that much when Bitcoin's trading at $160,000. Don't shoot yourself in the foot in the long term because you haven't gotten the exact right buy, and consider dollar cost averaging and loading up your position now because, like I said, the vast majority of the gains that Bitcoin makes in a year all happen within 10 to 20 days. Good luck timing that. You need to take advantage of the other 345 days of the year to make sure you are loading up while the market is low so that you can take advantage of those big rallies. So the last thing I would want you to do is to look at this technical analysis and say, boom, Jebb said it's likely to go down to $16,000, maybe $15,500, potentially even $12,600. I'm just going to keep all of my bags in my depreciating dollar or my depreciating Bolivar peso, pound sterling, euro, ruble, whatever. And I'm just going to wait for the bottom. Guys, we're down almost 80% from all-time high. Do you understand how low we already are? Just keep in mind, this industry has proven that it can be worth nearly $3 trillion. It's proven that historically. We went to $2.8 trillion in market cap. It's proven that that's doable, and throughout that time, we have only continued to prove the necessity and the use case for Bitcoin. The industry itself has only continued to grow. So where's the argument that we're not going to go back to $69,000? It's not like we went to 69K, dropped down here, and then Bitcoin just like blew up or something. Or like, you know, it's not like Bitcoin is a stock where Bitcoin rallied, where the stock rallied to $69,000 and then dropped to $16,000. And then the company had to lay off 80% of their workforce. They had to shut down offices globally. They had to curtail operations. They had to only take on a quarter as many customers. No, that's not the way Bitcoin works. It's not a stock. No matter what the price is doing, the industry is always growing. There's a lot of retail that step back, but the real power players, the people that are actually the movers and shakers in this industry, they haven't gone anywhere because they understand what I'm telling you. And I have been preaching it for half a decade that you need to understand the way this game works. It is not as simple as buy today, sell tomorrow, profit. There are a lot of people in this industry that want to scam you by teaching you that you can get into crypto and you can make $1 million tomorrow because Bitcoin's just that good. It requires skill, and most importantly, on the investor side of things, which I'm an investor, it requires patience. It requires having a way to generate capital, whether that being from you trading or whether that being from business endeavors, whether that being from an inheritance, whatever it is, and then having patience to invest it, because that's where the real money's made. The real money is made in investment unless you are an incredibly proficient and skilled trader and you're trading, 8 hours a day every single day for the last 5 years. Anyway, let's go ahead and read chat, see how you guys are doing. If you're enjoying today's stream, make sure to hit that like button. We got 700 people who have been so gracious as to join us this morning, but only 220 likes. We'll just have to start playing our world's smallest fiddle for that one. Let's see if we can't get up to 400 likes. I really appreciate you guys. Jebb, there's no more sailors buying Bitcoin. Even sailors not buying. Bear market till 2025. Don't agree with that. The sailor might not be buying anymore, but that definitely is not my stance on that. I'm scared to put anything on exchanges. Don't blame you. Although if you're just doing a trade on an exchange, the thing is I wouldn't be too worried about that, because what's the likelihood of, let's say, a Coinbase that's publicly traded and heavily regulated going bankrupt in 10 minutes for you to deposit, trade, withdrawal? It's very, very unlikely, in my opinion. So I think you'll be okay there. Let's go ahead and keep reading chat. Yes, good show today, Jebb. Thank you, Grand Roofing. Really appreciate that. Yep, it's going to crash to 3,500. Don't think so, but you never really know. OMAC is in chat. What's up, man? I have no idea what that stands for, by the way. So I'd love to know. I have a feeling it's something that I shouldn't say on stream. I have no idea. The Classic IT guy said, #FinSolve. Hi, when CT2A be available again? Well, CT2A is permanently retired, but we do have some more course content that we want to bring to you guys here in the next month or two. With Club DeFi's relaunch, there's a whole Twitter thread. You can go on our Twitter and look at that for some more information. I'll let you guys do that on your own for the sake of time. Dude, that was a sick background. Thank you. And like I said, it's not a green screen. It's real wood. I love it. We're going to build out a whole set in here. I really, really love it. This is the same set, the same wood that we had. Not the same set, but this is the same wood that we had on the set back at the old office that I took it took me like 14 hours to put it up. My dad came in here and put this up in like half an hour, so I felt dumb, but he's got 35 years in construction behind him, so I guess that makes sense. How can you solve poverty with Bitcoin? Well, one of the biggest causes of poverty, financially speaking, there's a lot of cultural causes of poverty, but one of the biggest causes of poverty financially is inflation and the stripping away of people's money over the course of time because of the government devaluing the currency or because of something else devaluing the currency. I mean, for example, agri-beads were used in Africa for a long time. Those agri-beads were found naturally. You could find them or you could make them. The Portuguese would ship them in boatloads of them, and completely dilute the economy because they had glass making up in Europe and they didn't really have it down in Western Africa. So they'd make these little glass beads and they'd bring them as their currency, and they completely blew up the economy down there because they inflated it into oblivion. All of a sudden, everybody had millions of agri-beads when before they were very rare. So that causes poverty. You want to know how to... You can impoverish one person by, firing them and then bad-mouthing them or something and making them not be able to get a job. You can impoverish an entire culture by destroying their currency. And that's what's happening all around the world, is that everybody's destroying their currency, but everybody's racing to see who can destroy their currency the slowest. That's kind of like jumping out of a plane and saying who can fall the slowest, but everybody's still falling fast enough that they're going to hit the ground with a splat. It's not like they're falling slow enough that they have a parachute on. It's like they jumped out with a backpack on thinking it was a parachute, and they're like, oh, well, if I do this, then I could fall a little bit slower than that guy, and I'm beating him. Yeah, but you're both going to get beat by the ground, and that's what inflation is two people racing to the ground at near terminal velocity, and one of them is falling a little bit slower. All right, let's see. Oh, man. So, yeah, as far as how can Bitcoin help you get out of poverty? By stopping the generational curse of having your wealth stripped away from you by literally every single other asset class you could possibly hold your value in. Literally every single one. Gold, platinum, real estate, stocks, bonds, any kind of precious, palladium, any kind of precious metal, silver, any kind of precious metal, any of them. It's not going to be a good store of value into the future. You're basically doing this thing where every single one of those asset classes is doing the race towards the ground. But there's only one that stayed in the plane, and that's Bitcoin. And you know why it stayed in the plane? How did it metaphorically stay in the plane? It metaphorically stayed in the plane and didn't jump out by not allowing endless inflation. Bitcoin has a cap on the amount of inflation that you can do on it, period. And to be honest with you, Bitcoin's inflation is over. It's over. There's 19.226 million Bitcoin. There's less than 2 million Bitcoin to go, to be mined in the next 118 years. In those next 118 years, we're almost certainly going to lose more than 1.8 million Bitcoin, just so you know. It's going to get lost. Either it's going to go to somebody's wallet and they're going to die, or it's going to get thrown into a landfill, or it's going to get deleted somehow. If you put Bitcoin on a hardware, let's say you put a Bitcoin on an Exodus wallet, and then you factory reset the computer, and you wipe the hard drive, and then you turn the computer back on and allow it to start up, and then let it install Windows, that Bitcoin's gone forever, unless you have the private keys exported. It's gone because it only existed in the ones and zeros on the computer, on the hard drive. If you reset or wipe or overwrite that hard drive, it is gone. That information is gone forever. Forever. Gone. I predict at some point in the future, computers will get so good at hacking and Bitcoin will be so valuable that businesses will pop up where their entire job is to literally just randomly guess and check to see if they can hack a wallet. Because if they manage to hack a wallet that has 0.1 Bitcoin in it, they'll make $100,000. And that was worth $50,000 of time and equipment and electricity. I bet you at one point when Bitcoin's worth $1 million or so, and there's a lot of Bitcoin that's been lost in stuff like that, there will almost certainly be mining farms set up not to mine, not to randomly guess the hashing algorithm, but to randomly guess private keys so that they can try and hack the wallets and get back lost Bitcoin. The tricky thing about that is that there's probably going to be a lot more wallets that are actually active, so that could actually become a really big problem here in 50 years. That's probably nothing that we have to worry about in a very long time, but I could see that happening. That just came to me. Let me know if you think that will take place. I think it actually will. Are I opening any short now? I don't know. That's up to you. The gravity of the situation is killing me. New couch on the horizon, Jebb? No, probably not going to put a couch back there. We're going to put, well, I'm not going to give you too many hints. We got a lot of ideas what we're going to put back here. In fact, we're going to turn the corner, caddy corner here and make this look even better. But there's a lot going on. I don't know if we'll have the set done by the new year, but we're working on it. This is just the very beginning. We just had to get this up before we put the rest of everything up here. All right, let's go ahead and move on here. We've been talking to chat here for a little while. SBF and Caroline seek new defense attorneys amid FTX Crash Probe. My theory, here's my theory. In the United States, there's something called Fifth Amendment protection, which basically says you don't have to testify against yourself. Anything you say can and will be held against you in a court of law. You've probably heard that before. If you say, I robbed the bank. No, I didn't rob a bank. But if you're a bank robber and you say that, your attorney can't do anything to help you because you just threw your Fifth Amendment protection out the window. What Sam Bankman-Fried has been doing on his media tour is saying, yeah, I was really bad at business, and yeah, that took place, and yeah, that money did move. I didn't know it was being moved in the wrong way, and yeah, there was nobody in charge of risk management. No, I wasn't looking at risk management. He's been going around saying this, that, and the third about his mistakes. Now, he's come out and denied fraud. He's denied the big crimes, but the littler things, the things that you could possibly write off as bad businessmen, as if he's following the bad businessman strategy of trying to get out of jail because, I just didn't know what I was doing, even though for 5 years he painted himself as the boy wonder, genius. They could build a $32 billion empire out of nothing, and he's barely 30 years old. He completely reversed when it was convenient for him. And again, like I said on the Sunday video, forgive him. Don't hold bitterness. Don't hold hatred towards him. First of all, it's a sin. Second of all, it's only going to hurt you. Third of all, it's going to hurt the industry if we are holding on to bitterness. I'm not trying to dumpster on Sam Bankman-Fried. I'm just telling you what happened. His attorneys are probably very tired of it because they're trying to defend him. And how do you defend somebody that's going on a media tour saying, I did this, I did that? Yeah, I totally did that. How do you defend a client when they keep telling the media what they're doing? So it kind of makes sense. Now, Caroline's not doing that. But she's being kind of thrown under the bus also by Sam Bankman-Fried because Sam Bankman-Fried keeps talking about, oh, yeah, all this money did go over to Alameda. But no, I had no idea. I had no idea that the money was being mishandled at Alameda Research. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Who's the CEO of Alameda? It's Caroline Ellison. So he's kind of been throwing her under the bus. Anyways, SBF and Carolyn Ellison seek new defense attorneys amid FTX Crash Probe. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried and former CEO of Alameda Research, Caroline Ellison, reach out to new defense attorneys after U.S. authorities probe on FTX Crash. Really moving very slow here. Very, very slow. According to Reuters report, Bankman-Fried's spokesperson stated that the FTX founder tapped Mark S. Cohen, founder of the Cohen and Gresser law firm. Meanwhile, Ellison asked Wilmer Cutler Pickering Hale and Dorr law firm to represent her. Cohen had recently defended Ghislaine Maxwell, which I'm not going to go into that. I'm definitely not wading into that. A couple worms, but you can read for yourself right here. A lot of people are throwing them under the bus for this. I'm just not going to touch that. As part of the legal team, the FTX spokesperson stated that David Mills, a professor at Stanford Law School, is also consulting with Bankman-Fried during the probe. On Monday, Bankman-Fried tweeted that he would testify to Congress about the FTX crash after understanding and reviewing what had happened. The FTX founder further claimed he is uncertain about what might happen at December 13th hearing. December 13th is going to be a very big day, and we will be covering that to the best of our ability here on the channel because December 13th is the day that CPI drops. Apparently, he's going to be testifying before Congress on December 13th, and then December 14th, we're going to be looking at the effective federal funds rate coming out. So make sure you subscribe and hit that post notification bell so you will be here on December 13th because we will be doing everything we can to pay attention to that story. Fact of the matter is, Sam Bankman-Fried is a little bit up a creek right now, and I have a feeling, now I don't know this, but I have a pretty strong feeling that his attorneys abandoned him because... Look, dude, we can't defend you, and we don't want to end up like that other law firm that defended somebody, and then their name gets dragged through the mud. You really, as an attorney, have to be careful because who you defend can stay with you forever because try as an attorney might to say, well, I'm just doing my job. It's not my job to look into the morals. My job is to look into... Now, most attorneys wouldn't say that, so let me back up on that statement. But it's not my job to, pick a side. It's my job to defend them so that they can have the best criminal defense possible, even if I think they're guilty. Public doesn't like that, even if that is common practice and even if that is the way it's supposed to be done. The fact is, it is good that everybody has an attorney. And so somebody has to do the dirty work of defending somebody that they know is guilty. It's not good for your reputation. And so that's the tricky thing that I think the attorneys that Sam Bankman-Fried were running into is, first of all, they're probably sitting there like, gosh, we're defending this guy. Must be paying us a lot of money. But then he keeps talking about stuff and they just don't want any part of it. So I have a feeling that's what took place. Anyway, moving on here, another interesting article is this. Binance generates 90% of revenue from transaction fees, Changping Zhao says. That's very important because cryptocurrency exchanges, FTX, were generating a lot of their money through trading user funds. So trading the assets that people had deposited onto their platform, which is very sad. Reinstating ads on CoinMarketCap would add $40 million a year. Wow, because they bought CoinMarketCap and took the ads down. Cryptocurrency exchange Binance generates 90% of its revenue from transaction fees, CZ said in a recent TechCrunch interview posted on YouTube. He added that Binance had removed all ads from data site CoinMarketCap, which was acquired in 2020, to make it a cleaner experience. We can turn that back on. That'll give us $40 million a year, but we don't need to today, Zhao said. Binance's revenue is estimated around $20 billion in 2021, according to a Bloomberg analysis. So the only reason I bring this up is because if that is true, and this is something where we kind of have to take CZ at his word, because that's all we have. Their finances are not public because they're not a publicly traded company. If that is true, then they're not generating a lot of their revenue from moving around customer funds and customer assets, trying to make a bunch of money in that way, which is one of the things that led to FTX going bankrupt. But even as you can see here, there's been a big withdrawal from Binance. Their total assets have dropped $7 billion. When this first was published, there were $66 billion in assets on these books. Right now, as you can see, there are 59 billion. And the makeup of those assets has changed dramatically. On Binance, the asset allocation is 28% BNB. And then over here, we're looking at 26.5% in BUSD. A huge, huge amount of their money is sitting in their own two tokens. Over 50% of the money sitting on the exchange is in their own two tokens. Now, remember, this is not, in theory anyway, the money that Binance is holding. This is supposed to be the deposits of their users. So the users obviously are holding a lot of BNB and a lot of BUSD, and then they're using others' ETH. Bitcoin only makes up 10%. That's shocking to me. I'm really curious if that's actually... Now, we don't know because this is all aggregated data. This seems to be reserves and deposits aggregated together into this, this mythical term token allocation. But I'm really curious how much of this is user deposits and how much of this is their reserves that they are holding. Because if they're holding 28% of their reserves in their own token, are they not in exactly the same position that FTX was in? Well, I mean, what happens if Binance tomorrow falls through the floor? You guys got to remember, Binance is sitting at a very high level. It is not bottomed out the way that Bitcoin has. Bitcoin has gone very far to the bottom. Binance, compared to that, is only down 60%. It did drop down 74%, but there's no support down here whatsoever. I mean, look at the VPVR, the VRVP. There's none whatsoever till you get down to $40. Binance could easily, if something happens to CZ's name or something happens to the exchange, they get hacked, God knows what, more regulation comes against them, who cares, whatever it is, they could drop 85% to the next level of support. You lose 85% on, what, $16 billion? Do you not think that's going to destabilize BUSD? We don't even know to the fullest how BUSD is backed. How much of BUSD is backed by Binance? Or is this all backed in other stablecoins or in other cash assets? It can't be on their platform because if it was backed in USDT, there's not enough to cover it. So where is the asset allocation management going on here? We don't have enough information. We don't know what their liabilities are. We don't know what the total amount of deposits is. We don't know how much of this is their reserves, which is not actually correlated to a user depositing funds on the platform. We don't know how Binance US is backed. And if Binance does go belly up the way that FTX did, you can kiss that thought of $12,000 Bitcoin goodbye. You're looking at a $9,000 Bitcoin, if not lower. And you're also looking at a heck of a lot more regulation than we were already looking at following the FTX disaster. Because if you don't remember, FTX was big. It didn't hold a candle to Binance. FTX had $20 billion in user funds. A week ago, Binance had 66. It was Binance is 3 times larger in the department of, assets. FTX at one point allegedly had 20 billion. Now that's a stretch. So Binance was at minimum 3, probably 5 or 6 times larger than FTX based on the amount of assets that they had. I mean, right now they're, infinitely larger because FTX got nothing because they're bankrupt. But The fact is that if Binance were to go the way of FTX because of poor token management and allocation, that's going to be a problem. And let us not forget, I told you guys to hold them accountable to this, and please do. We need to make a stink about this. CZ, Changping Zhao said one of the lessons that Binance has learned is not to use an exchange's own token in its reserves. Those were nearly his exact words. The wording was not to use an exchange's own token as its reserves. I think it's curious that CoinMarketCap, which Binance owns, has not differentiated between what are customer deposits and what are the reserves of their exchange. Do you mean to tell me, CZ, and I will challenge him on this, do you mean to tell me that customer deposits is everything that's listed here, and you've got customers holding $16 billion in Binance when they're only holding $6 billion in Bitcoin? Are the users of Binance so bullish on Binance that on the aggregate, the entire whole, they're willing to hold over twice as much Binance than Bitcoin? Really? I don't know about that. BUSD, maybe I could see that because it's a stable coin. People are parked in their dry powder right now waiting for the rally. I could maybe see that. But you got Ethereum at 5%. An exchange normally has deposits, with Bitcoin making up almost half of the user holdings, not including stablecoins. Half of whatever Bitcoin is holding is going into Ethereum, and then everything else is going into the other. We got 12.5%, 12.8% here in the other. Binance is an other. So there is no way that this right here is all customer deposits. A large portion of this, probably at least 12 billion of this, at least 10 billion of this, has got to be the reserves that Binance is sitting on, or their own investment in Binance. And now they're probably stuck with it, because if they were to try to offload that, even on the OTC market, because if you offload it on the OTC market, somebody's going to go and sell it on the exchange. What happens to the Binance coin? Binance is sitting above this uptrending level of support right here, and this flat level of support right there. If it drops below either one of those, drops below 260, boom, crash. The entire exchange goes under because they lose that much money. You think they're able to stay solvent? Maybe. Maybe they stay solvent and lose $15 billion in the process. Good luck recovering from that, Binance. I'll get off my soapbox. These numbers on CoinMarketCap do not make a lot of sense. I think it's great if 90% of the revenue is generated by the transaction fees on the exchange, but if they're holding that much money in reserves and Binance falls through the floor, and that's what their reserve is Binance, and we don't know how Binance USD is backed fully. If Binance USD is backed by BNB, then what you could see is a cascading effect where BUSD is not fully backed anymore because BNB collapsed. Then you see BUSD depeg. Binance, in the process, could lose $32 billion. That's half of the money on the entire platform. You see the destruction of the largest stablecoin since UST. Remember, BUSD is worth $22 billion. That's the market cap right now. That's how much money's in it. And then you see BNB go down. That together, not even including the exchange, if these two went under, that's $67 billion gone. That's Luna right there is what that is. But not only that, you would also at the same time be seeing the largest exchange by a country mile going bankrupt. Look at the volume here. $11.3 billion in volume. The next one, Coinbase, is a tenth of that, almost literally. Nobody holds a candle to it. No one. Binance is such a massive monopoly. This is dangerous. And you can quote me on it. This is very, very dangerous. And of course, in the score right here, the spot exchange score, CoinMarketCap gives Binance a 9.9 out of 10 because CoinMarketCap is owned by Binance. I don't know. You tell me what you think. I'll tell you what I think. I think Binance is too big for its own good, and I think it's dangerous. And I think CZ needs to be held under very, very close scrutiny. Not saying that CZ has done anything wrong, to be clear. I'm not saying CZ has done anything wrong. I think CZ has done a great job leading the industry over the last month since FTX went bankrupt. I do, however, have a very real concern about the way their assets are allocated because I don't for a second believe that people have deposited 2 times more BNB on the platform than Bitcoin. I don't believe it. That's hogwash. I do not believe it at all. Guys, one thing that I do believe is that Anthony Price is an incredible CPA. Make sure to check him out down below, because if you guys are in cryptocurrency, then naturally you need to pay taxes. You might not want to. In fact, you probably don't want to. Who wants to pay taxes? But you're going to have to pay taxes. Anthony Price is a CPA, and he's going to help you to pay as little tax in cryptocurrency as possible while also staying compliant. Because the last thing you want to do is massively underpay in taxes. The IRS come after you, then they audit you, then they go through your books, and then you have to deal with all of that. Maybe you get away scot-free. Maybe you don't have any charges pressed against you. The IRS is a very sneaky organization. You definitely don't want to be on their bad side. You don't want to have an audit come your way. You want to make sure that everything is as clean as possible, but you also want to make sure that you're paying as little money in taxes legally as possible. And that's where Anthony Price, as a CPA, can come in and fill in the void. He can help you save a lot of money in taxes, and what you pay him will end up, hopefully, being less than what you spend in taxes, and than the amount that you saved in taxes, so you end up profiting from it. It's an investment, is what it is. You can invest in a bookkeeper, or excuse me, in an accountant and a CPA to help you with your taxes to make sure you spend as little as possible. Let's go ahead and read chat here for a minute or so, and then we're going to go ahead and jump out. OMAC said, who's been a member for 13 months, said Ledger Hardware will become the next crypto exchange in one power move. Yeah, for real. I could see Ledger doing very, very well over the next little while. Coinly is good too. What's the best stable coin ATM, USDT, BUSD, or USDC? I don't use stable coins very often. I do sometimes, but only for quick transactions. I typically keep my money in either dollars or in a crypto. That being said, I'm saying this because I'm not the most informed to answer that question, but I would probably tend to lean in the direction of USDC. And then it'd probably be a toss-up between BUSD and USDT. Why the BNB FUD? It's not FUD. It's just, I'm not trying to FUD BNB. I think Binance is a great exchange. I just think that it's an Achilles heel in the industry right now, how large they are. And we need to have a lot more, even more accountability and transparency than we have had. What they showed us on CoinMarketCap is great. It's not enough. We need more. Matt C. said, I'd love to be able to invest in Ledger. Yeah, if they're a publicly traded company, that would be a stock to buy. I bought my first crypto on Binance in 2018. They're the OG. Yeah, Binance been around the block. I know. Like I said, I'm not trying to FUD Binance. I'm just saying that we need to keep them accountable. All right. A lot of people in chat. Really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. It is 11 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it out. Let's see if we got any other things we want to read here. I think we've covered pretty much everything. Guys, like I said, if you enjoyed today's stream, make sure to hit that like button. Let's see if we can get up to 500 likes here in the next little bit. Really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. Make sure to check out all of our links down below. Make sure to sign up for Lux Algo. As you can see, Lux Algo helped us to predict that drop that happened over last night. Also, make sure to check out Anthony Price. You can find his link in the description box down below. But I'm going to go ahead and go. Before I go, though, guys, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Oh!